Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here, sorting out a little bit of stuff with Trollface, just putting it in order. Trollface is new to Objectivism. He's 4 years in. He's going to say that he thinks I'm not an Objectivist or might not be, or hell, what the hell, Brandon is an Objectivist if he says he is. But he says clearly I'm not an Objectivist. Anyways, it's drama. Now, as we start off here, he's been talking about education, or he hasn't been talking about it. His previous sentence was on the subject of education in the United States. Now, I used to be pretty upset about education in the United States. I said it's garbage, 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 and it is. It is. And then I said, well, everybody else in the world has better math scores than us. Everybody else in the world has better understanding of science, better geography. Everybody else in the world knows something about history. Americans don't. Americans are the most productive people in the world. So how do we... This is dissonance in reality. It's true. Reality has this country with a crappy education system, and they're the most productive and most amazing country on the planet. What is it? It's freedom, baby. Yeah, Trollface hates it when I do that. Freedom, baby. Okay. So here we go, Trollface. And it is freedom. It is America has freedom. Even if you give us crappy schools, we'll still be the best country in the world because freedom, baby. Okay.
Yeah, shit, I didn't know what logic was until a couple of years ago. Dude, you'd be amazed at the things I didn't know. I didn't know anything. 35 years, I just floated. A haze. Right. It's what it actually was.
All right.
Just floated through life in a haze. Let me get a little thing of juice, and we'll be right back.
I don't need to make any comments about how for 35 years he didn't know anything. No. He admits he hasn't read the novels. You should read the novels, Trollface. You got to read the novels because you got to concretize the philosophy. The philosophy is not a bunch of floating ideas. The philosophy exists in human beings. There's no other place the philosophy exists. He'll be back shortly. Now, he takes exception to my pragmatism. That's what he's upset about. He says Cropper's a pragmatist. He says that I throw philosophy out. I say we have to forget philosophy. And I've never said any such thing. I say, where does philosophy take place? We don't have to forget philosophy. We have to remember reality. That's what I find the Objectivists doing. They've got their ideas, and they're very, very good at their ideas. But there's reality out there, too. Like I said, somebody else liked this comment. I said, sometimes you have to pick up a hammer and build a goddamn building. Sometimes it's not about figuring out the perfect rationalistic, design and making it all beautiful and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's not going to be a perfect building. Sometimes you build the goddamn thing. Okay, and that's how I view Trump. Not everybody's the perfect savior God.
Hey, righty. So yeah, at least for me, everything was politics. Everything was politics. I didn't even know what philosophy was. I didn't know what metaphysics, epistemology, aesthetics. I didn't know any of these things.
That's necessarily what
everything.
Philosophy is for people who are just starting out or who haven't been introduced to philosophy as such. It is politics because that is what has an effect on you. That's what you can see. That's what you can think about, right? The issues in politics, and that's where people get ethics confused because these are the issues around us. So when Objectivists talk about ethics, it's very good for us to say, on a desert island, what do we mean by ethics? If a man is all by himself and nobody around him. So it's interesting that people don't really, if they are not introduced to ideas or philosophy at all, they don't really have any way to make ethical judgments. Everything's mixed with politics because politics is everywhere, including ethics of politics and charity and blah, blah, blah. And ethics itself, which is an individual on a desert island, there's never any place for them to even consider it unfortunately, outside of the grounds of philosophy. So, just to realize where the anarchists, for example, are, who have never done anything with philosophy, but they're starting to see that it's important that the government not be involved in stuff, and freedom is better and stuff, and so they can see politics as important, but they have no idea about philosophy as such, let alone even ethics. Okay, so Diego was there as recently as 4 or 5 years ago.
Politics. It's all I thought life was. And then you're taught in history class, kings and queens and wars and battles. More politics. History, everything is politics. When I mean everything, I mean everything. All right, I don't know. Are you still there? Before I talk about other things?
Politics is the
I don't know if
end
you left for a break or
of
not.
everything, though. Politics is the end of all human happiness is our end goal, isn't it? When I say politics is the end of everything, though, I mean what I mean is all these books and stuff are written for the purpose of living our life on this planet. And politics is the involvement between us and other people, what we are doing with other people. So politics is really, really an important point, but it's very high up in the philosophy. It comes very high up. It's the last thing. Well, there's art. Art's not the last thing. Art permeates philosophy. So politics really is the last thing. Politics really is the top layer. Art is all over in the whole thing. It's kind of like metaphysics, and Aristotle's metaphysics was just concerned everything. And it's one topic, but they put it at the end because it concerned everything. All right.
That discovers the truth. God and religion was fake, and science was real.
So he's just talking about
science was it.
He's just talking about how confused he was. He thought science was the main thing. And there's a lot of people who think that, right? Let's do a scientific understanding of the brain, and then we'll know philosophy, right? In fact, an objectivist an up-and-coming objectivist attempting to make videos on the science of the brain, thinking that will teach us something about philosophy. And so Diego right here is saying science is not going to teach you anything about philosophy. Philosophy lets you do science. So understanding whatever you're going to understand about the brain won't tell you about philosophy. Okay.
I will say on everything. Little did I know, it's not the case. You know, like for the anyway. So now that I know that you're here. Okay.
Here he is. He's back to it.
What were your thoughts on the Cropper Rucka chat? I know you talked about this a bit on the Discord, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'm going to do some videos on that eventually. I'm just in no hurry. For me, objectivist drama isn't a pressing issue. I like to hop on YouTube during the day while I work. And
I want to say that the discussion between Rucka and I don't know if it's objectivist drama. I mean, maybe it is because we touched on the Amy Peikoff stuff, but that's not important. Amy Peikoff and her view of me and her view of the meme that's objectivist drama. What really happened in the Rucka discussion between Rucka and I was, how does objectivism talk to today and our political situation today? Do we just wave our hands and say, nobody's perfect, oh, those people over there are rationalists, those people over there have an epistemological mistake, those people over there are statists, nobody's perfect? Is that our attitude? Is that objectivist attitude? I think that's the question we wrestled with in the Rucka debate. Even the idea of, okay, everybody's equal. Yeah. Now, are men and women equal? Yes. What's percentage of men are murderers, what percentage of women? 97% are men, 3% are women. Okay, does being a man have any effect on how you act? Because if it does, we don't get to say innate ideas, do we? But do we have to run screaming from the room? These are objective facts of reality, that more men are in prison than women. What are we going to do about that? Go like this and go la 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 la? I mean, what are we going to do as objectivists? What are we going to do? I'm going to try to think about these ideas and talk about them. What are you going to do?
Ask questions or stir some shit up. But besides that, I kind of lay low on it when I get home.
He was just saying that's what he does in regard to objectivist drama. He asks questions, stirs some shit up, but generally just lays low.
As far as it's weird. So first, I mean, I just have to get this off my chest. I mean, it just kind of annoys me that Rucka, when you put out that tweet last week, and Rucka clipped me, right, where I was trying to assume what Rucka's intentions were because I was just assuming, right, it's just bullshitting. And I even said in the clip, I don't really know. And his response was, I don't know, Diego's weird, or I gave this weird response. And that kind of bothered me. I'm like, gave a weird response. I was just, as they say, speaking from the heart, trying to assume what his intentions were.
All right, now this I just leave in because it's evidence of something I just want to mention. I think a lot of objectivists, some who used to think of me as an objectivist, but oh, he must not be an objectivist now, crazy bastards. I'm an objectivist. I think a lot of objectivists are laying low right now, and they're even pointing fingers at me and laughing at me and calling me names. Not realizing that I'm the bus driver now, guys. So a lot of objectivists are trying to stay clear. They realize grenades are being thrown, shrapnel is flying, there's a schism going on, something is happening, sparks are flying, and they don't want to get hit. And they want to be clean when all the shit flying is done. Now, I thought I was going to be clean and clear when all the shit flying was done. I was still going to be an objectivist, and there'd be this group of obleftivists with egg on their face. All right? And guess what? That process is still going on. All right? It's not done yet. But Mr. Cropper isn't going to do... I mean, some of you... Okay, so there's the objectivists who are trying to stay out of trouble and stay clear of the scandal and not get hit. And some of you are pointing fingers at me and laughing at me and calling me names. And then there are the objectivists who have absconded, who have taken off, who have just left. They've gone and started up other pages and stuff. And you say, oh, they're not real objectivists, they're racists or whatever it is. And Diego even says that I'm a racist, which is this, he's new. He's new to objectivism. He's a youngster as far as the movement goes, all right? Let him get a few years under his heel. I'm not going to judge him on his flippancy. He'll have to be consistently irrational and flippant over time for me to judge him because he's pretty new to philosophy and he hasn't even read the novels. You got to read the novels, Diego. So that's what I wanted to leave this in here for. He is concerned, overly concerned about little things, nuance about how other objectivists see him or treat him. Okay? And one of the ways that he's trying to get the other objectivists to see him or treat him properly is by throwing Mr. Cropper under the bus. Mr. Cropper is driving the bus, Diego. That's not going to work.
That's it. Nothing weird about that. It's not like I said Rucka was an alien or anything actually weird. So, fast forward a week later to this little talk that he and Rucka had, Cropper and Rucka had, and it's like the whole chat, I thought he was being funny. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm.
Now, I just want to say, Trollface, I think Rucka might have been asking you questions and prodding you and not letting you off the hook as you see it. He wasn't letting you off the hook because he saw that you don't have like a real solid grasp of some things, and so he was just prodding you to see if maybe he could get you to say, okay, yeah, maybe I need to go read this or that, or maybe I need to do a little more consideration of whatever it is. I think that's what he was doing. That's my opinion of it. It's not that he thinks less of you and thinks more of me and was letting things slide with me or something like that, or he has less respect for you or whatever it is. However you interpret it. I don't think it's that. I think that he saw fuzziness in your understanding of certain things and pressed you on it a little bit. That's all I think it was.
Understood. Weird. I don't think he was serious. I don't know. Uh, so let me finish my thought. I could be completely wrong about this. Maybe I misinterpreted the tweet. But then him and Cropper talks, and Cropper says insane shit, and Rucka lets it slide by. Now, I understand that Rucka is just, I hate using that word, just an
And what insane shit. You guys can go watch the video, Rucka and my talk.
interviewer, so maybe his job, per se, isn't to grill somebody, it's just to talk to a person, ask some questions, sort of like a Dave Rubin or a Larry King.
Now, when I do interviews, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not necessarily going to stop the person that I'm talking to every single time they say something that doesn't fit in the objectivist literature and say, hey, wait, that doesn't fit inside objectivist literature. Like I was talking with Onar, and he's telling me stuff, and I'm sort of going, whoa, this is a little weird. Like, why do you have to bring genetics? I don't see genetics doing it. Where do I'd have to see evidence. You'd have to show me that, right? And but that doesn't mean that I accept everything he says, or I endorse him as an objectivist because he came on and talked to me, although that was suggested in one of the comments in one of my videos. Cropper had this guy named Onar on, and Onar was saying crazy stuff, therefore Cropper's not an objectivist. What kind of an objectivist would make a statement like that? Come along, sir.
Right? But I found it weird that when Cropper was saying contradictory, insane things,
like what?
which I'll get to in a second, when Rucka was talking to me, he wouldn't let go my sex life as a child. I thought that was like creepy because he asked me a question.
This might be a thing of California. This might be a California thing. It might be an upper class pampered thing. They believe in extraordinary delicacy. But more than anything, it might be those sexy pictures that accidentally aired during your talk.
I think that messed you up. And I said no. And then Rucka says, are you sure? And I'm like, no. And he kept going. You know what I think? I mean, you can pull up the discussion yourself. It was just, why do you keep asking me? I didn't understand why he kept pressing this issue. It felt like he was trying to psychologize me or trying to find fault. Or maybe he was like surprised that someone can have a sex life when they're a child and it not bother them. Like, it didn't bother me. It was just a thing. Maybe that caught him off guard. So for me, it seemed like he was more interested in my sex life as a pseudo-psychologist than when Cropper says, you got to forget about philosophy. You got to deal with the real world.
No, never said any such thing, did I? I said, where does philosophy take place in the real world? We can't just have the ideas. Ideas are great, but where? Where are the ideas? So no, I've never said any such thing. You'd have to give us a timestamp, Trollface. So.
Real world things. And what Cropper was then saying was, be pragmatic. But then I think 30 minutes later in the video...
No, but in order for you to be practical, you do have to do something in the real world, right? It's fine to have philosophy and ideas, but now what are you going to do with them? You got to be practical in the sense of practicing. The word practical means to practice. As the objectivist, a bunch of you have left comments, several of you at least have said, the moral and the practical can't be separated, which is something I keep saying. The moral and the practical cannot be separated. When I say practical, it is not a dirty word, okay? It cannot be separated from the moral. It is not like the moral is some thing floating off there, and then there's just then what do we do in reality? So if we act in reality at all, we have to act according to morality. And we have to be practical about reality, don't we? And we've got to use our philosophy to do that. Right? Now, what's controversial about me saying that? That we have to be practical, we have to use our philosophy in this reality. Practical meaning practice. The root word of practical meaning practice. I didn't say we have to be pragmatic. I've never said any such thing. So you're going to have to give us a timestamp, Diego.
No. Um,
Now, am I giving Diego too much credit in arguing with him as if he's an objectivist? Is he not an objectivist? Is he some sort of crazy hanger-on or something? I only take him to be an objectivist because he's saying I'm not an objectivist and I'm some sort of crazy hanger-on.
Rucka brought up how countries that act collectivistic or altruistic or communistic end up a certain way, and then Cropper went straight to pragmatism, and he threw philosophy out. He was giving examples. I mean, I can't really give you what I'm talking without watching the video.
And we await that video, Trollface. I think I've said everything I need to say here. Let's see if he said any more.
And
here.
doing a play-by-play.
Yeah, do a
There's
play-by-play.
A lot of nuance that's going in there, but it was like an hour of him constantly contradicting himself.
We do need to let him say a little bit more. Constantly contradicting myself. Well, you guys can go watch my discussion with Rucka and see if I constantly contradicted myself.
Sloppy definition of what the left is.
Let's do that real quick. My definition of the left and the right today is the left is groupthink and they enforce their viewpoint on everybody in the group. That's the left. It's a group that enforces their view on everybody in the group. It's groupthink. Okay? And they use doublethink and doublespeak and all the Orwellian things to do that. But it's a groupthink and they force their thoughts on everybody in the group. That's the left. The right is everybody else. And that's why we've got people running out of the left, seeking someplace to go. Dave Rubin has left the left. Eric and Brett Weinstein have left the left. They've brought the left with them. That's what you guys are saying. They haven't left the left. The left is everywhere in your brains. Everything's the left. So, well, if everything's the left, just give up now and just be a commie.
I mean, and he just lets him slide with this sloppy interview. But when it was me, it was like, are you sure?
Sloppy interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I assume if you're watching this, you've watched the interview.
Doing sex when you were 6 didn't mess you up or something? What? What the fuck? And I thought that was interesting and / weird. So then I called Cropper out on his bullshit, and he starts rationalizing and defending himself in his comment section, which is fine. You know, I could be...
What bullshit? I started rationalizing. Now, I have to say that there was a comment that he left, Trollface left, which, oh boy. I mean, I just rolled my eyes and went, I just rolled my eyes and I said, okay, he needs to learn to concretize his thoughts a little bit better. He throws out big words, rationalistic words. He throws out words like a rationalist, right? It's like, what do you mean by that? What are you saying? Concretize that and describe exactly what you mean. You can't just throw words around. Rationalists just throw words around unrelated to reality. So you got to say what you mean. Let's find it here if we can. And Chandler gave a nice reply. Oh my, we got a bunch of activity going on here. Chandler gave a funny reply. You know what? Maybe I need to. Which video was it on? Hell, it might have been on Rucka's video. Let's see if it's on my version of the video. Alright, well anyways, so he said, Trollface said, some must have been on, maybe it's on Rucka's video. Trollface said something. He said, Cropper, you're just, he said, rationalism's bad, intrinsicism's bad, empiricism's bad, we have to throw all these things in the trash. right? I mean, I think I did that on the video on his comments. And then Chandler says, Trollface, I love you, dude, but sometimes you just say shit. And that's the situation we're in here, Trollface. Concretize what you mean. Say what are you talking about here? And please, please, do not just dismiss Mr. Cropper as some racist hanger-on who is crazy or something like that. I was the first objectivist on YouTube. Verifiably the first objectivist on YouTube. And I might end up being the last. We'll see. No, I don't know what that means. That was a stupid comment.
But other people point out the same things I'm pointing out. That he hangs out with racists.
Well, when I say I might end up being the last, let me just say that I'm not going to abscond from objectivism. Other people have said they left the objectivist scene because of all the schism and infighting and stuff like that. And I'm very comfortable as an objectivist. I'm not going anywhere. So you guys are going to have to get comfortable with me.
Vampire psychologist. His definitions are all over the place.
Oh, I had the vampire psychologist? What's that? Is that the guy from Norway? That's a strange way to describe him. My definitions are all over the place. Did I go over the definition on the left? Yeah.
Wants to initiate force on American citizens to fund the government. I mean...
All right. Voluntary taxation, right? We have to do voluntary taxation. True. Okay, I agree. I'm with it. Now, if we're going to fund our government through any form of taxation, I think the best form of taxation would be a taxation that wasn't within our borders. It was on people outside of our borders. So if you buy a clock inside of America, it's tax-free. You buy a clock from Germany or Switzerland, you're going to pay a tax. You buy a car from Detroit, tax-free. You buy a car from Japan, you're going to pay a tax. That's what I think. So do I think that we should... Now, you know, he's dropping the context of what I'm saying. He's leaving reality out of it and just using ideas. The idea is initiate force against citizens. Now, do I say that? Do I say just go hold a gun to their head and say give us money? No, I've said that the representatives that are elected by the people should initiate these policies. Now, the people can change their minds and throw them out, right? Discussions can be had. There's free speech. So, no, I don't say there should be initiation of force. I mean, you cannot drop reality and just talk about ideas and then think you're sounding profound, okay? We only sound profound when we talk about reality and ideas together, okay? Other people are called rationalists. They only talk about ideas. Those are rationalists.
None of these things are objectivist views, so it's weird. It's fucking weird.
What is an objectivist view of reality? Now, I don't believe that we should have forced taxation. But I said, if we're going to fund the government through forced taxation, I want to do it through a tariff. That's what I said. And I explained why a foreign tariff is so nifty. No, it's not an objectivist idea. Well, we take objectivism out into the world and we apply it. There's no place you can go look up objectivism that says we should have a wall on the southern border or we shouldn't have a wall on the southern border. There's no place. But ask yourself whether or not you lock your door at night.
And you know what? Maybe I just don't have the balls to tell them, you're not an objectivist, you're a fucking fake. Because I always see people with the ability to grow and change.
So that's why I'm giving you a shot, Diego. I'm letting you off the hook to a certain extent here. I'm an objectivist. Am I a fake? Come on. So I'm letting you off the hook because you're a little pup. You're new. So I'm letting you off the hook on that.
I don't like to be finite about my opinion on somebody. Like, I have my opinion of people in my head, but when I say it, it's a different animal altogether, you know? Like I gave Charles too a million chances, but he just evades. And people were in the comment section, "Oh, Cropper's not an objectivist," or "He's this or that," and
Crazy people. Those are the objectivists who are trying to keep themselves clean in the battle. Well, you can't keep yourself clean by attacking the driver.
I'm like, he is. I'm not here to judge people on what philosophy they are and are not. You know, in the eye.
Now, who goes back and forth and contradicts themselves? The guy who says Cropper's not even an objectivist, he's a fucking fake? And then a minute later he says he is an objectivist. I mean, who contradicts himself and waffles back and forth here?
Many people. I'm not an objectivist because I hold contradictions. So, it's.
So if you hold contradictions, you're not an objectivist? You know, what is an objectivist? I liked Bosch Faustin's attitude towards this. Bosch Faustin was saying, you guys have to quit being such ninnies as far as Islam goes. We've got to make fun of Islam and attack it, and it's okay to belittle it, and it's an evil ideology and stuff. He said, you guys got to quit being such ninnies. And somebody said, who's saying this? He said, objectivists are saying this stuff. And somebody said, but are they really objectivists, Bosch? And Bosch said, sure they are. Just ask them. See? That's my attitude. Sure, just ask them. Are they objectivists? Is Trollface an objectivist? I don't. You're a Platonic rationalist if you think that objectivists are people who hold zero contradictions. That's no definition for an objectivist. An objectivist has to be someone who takes Ayn Rand's ideas seriously and tries to apply them in their life, or some definition like that. You can't use Platonic, floating, idealistic, rationalistic, detached from reality definitions for what an objectivist is, because then there won't be any. So there has to be a definition for what an objectivist is that's obtainable.
Because what you are isn't based on other people's opinions of you. You know? That's the whole thing.
Aristotle said what you do is what you are.
And that's the principle. If he considers himself an objectivist, fine, he is. If I consider myself an objectivist, fine, I am. I might be a bad one, you know. But I feel like I'm just too much of a pansy sometimes. I really don't like confronting people about this stuff, because it's not really that important.
Alright, I think that's the end of it. What we needed to discuss here. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you support what I do, if you want to keep hearing me go over objectivist drama from time to time, and do the other videos I do, Kant, making fun of Anoop Verma. Anoop. Oh, Anoop. He posted more shit today. If you like what I do, please go throw me $5-10 on Patreon. And let's see if we can get Mr. Cropper to be the driver of this bus. Get the interview with Rucka was great. Let's get some more interviews. Get discussions. You guys, if any of you want to message me or tell somebody else you know who might want to talk to me in an interview, they don't necessarily have to be an objectivist, and I'm not going to stop them every single second and say, that's not objectivism. You know, like I did not do in my previous interviews. So, there we go. Please support me on Patreon if you like what I do. If you like the objectivist drama, tough. It's not going to be a permanent thing, but it's fun, isn't it? It's a little bit of fun. It's not just drama. We've got to sort these things out. We've got to know who's driving the armored personnel carrier, which direction it's going, and what we're doing when we get there. Are we going to take Trump out of office, or are we going to support Trump? What are we doing here?